The judgment of fear, the emergency session beacon pulsed through subspace, reaching every corner of the galaxy. Within 48 hours, representatives from 15 different species had gathered aboard Nexus Station, the massive diplomatic hub that floated in neutral space between the spiral arms. The station's central chamber, normally used for trade negotiations and cultural exchanges, now buzzed with intention that made the air itself feel heavy. Ambassador Tylex of the Veltar stood at the center of the circular chamber, his tall, silver-skinned form radiating the kind of controlled fear that came from witnessing something that shouldn't exist. Around him, delegates from across known space shifted nervously in their specialized seating arrangements. The insectoid Pithara clicked their mandibles in distress, while the gaseous nebula swirled in agitated patterns within their containment suits. Fellow members of the Galactic Council, Tylex began, his voice carrying the harmonic undertones that marked his species as natural diplomats. We face a crisis unlike any in our recorded history. 3 months ago, we made first contact with a species from the Outer Rim, a young race that calls themselves humans. The crystalline delicate resonance of truth vibrated at frequencies that translated to skepticism. Ambassador Thylex, we have encountered thousands of emerging species. What makes these particular beings worthy of an emergency session? Thylex activated the holographic display in the chamber's center. Images of Earth appeared, showing a blue-green world that looked deceptively peaceful. On the surface, they appear unremarkable. A carbon-based species that achieved basic spaceflight only recently. Their homeworld shows signs of resource depletion and environmental stress, typical of young civilizations. But appearances deceive. The hologram shifted to show surveillance footage captured by long-range probes. Human ships moved through space with an efficiency that surprised many in the chamber. More disturbing were the tactical scenarios the humans had been observed practicing. War games that showed a level of strategic thinking that typically took species millennia to develop. They learn faster than any species on record, Thylex continued. In the 3 months since we began covert observation, they have advanced their technology at a rate that should be impossible. They reverse engineer our probe technology within days of exposure. They adapt their tactics after each encounter with our surveillance. Most troubling of all, they seem to anticipate our methods of observation. Admiral Krex of the Zephyrian? Navy leaned forward, his reptilian features hardening. The Zephyrians had served as the galaxy's military force for over 1,000 years, and Krex had never encountered a threat he couldn't analyze and counter. Show us their military capabilities. The hologram changed again, displaying footage that made several delegates gasp. Human soldiers moved through training exercises with a coordination that seemed almost supernatural. They fought in environments that would kill most species, adapted to alien weapons with frightening speed, and demonstrated a willingness to sacrifice themselves for tactical advantage that unnerved even the most warlike races. They show no fear of death, Thylex observed. None. Our behavioral analysts cannot find any situation that reliably triggers self-preservation instincts in the human military caste. They will charge into certain death if it serves their mission objectives. The harmonious delegate, speaker of many voices, rippled with concern. As a telepathic species, they understood the psychological implications better than most. This suggests either severe mental conditioning or an evolutionary adaptation to warfare that we've never encountered. It gets worse, Thylex said grimly. They don't just fight well individually. They coordinate at levels we previously thought impossible for non-hive minds. Watch this. The display showed a human military exercise involving thousands of participants across a planetary surface. The coordination was flawless, with units supporting each other in patterns too complex for most computer systems to track. But what truly disturbed the council was the improvisation. When unexpected obstacles were introduced to the exercise, the humans adapted their entire strategy in real time, without any apparent centralized command structure. They think collectively while maintaining individual consciousness, Thylex explained. It should be impossible, yet they do it naturally. Our xenobiologists believe it's an emergent property of their social evolution, developed through millions of years of intertribal warfare. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Most spacefaring civilizations had evolved past warfare before developing advanced technology. The idea of a species that had weaponized cooperation itself was terrifying. Counselor V of the Trading Consortium spoke up, her multiple eyes blinking in sequence as she processed the information. What about their intentions? Have they shown signs of aggressive expansion? Tylex's expression grew even darker. That's perhaps the most disturbing aspect. They claim to come in peace, and their actions support this claim. They've made no hostile moves, offered fair trade agreements, and shown remarkable restraint in their responses to our surveillance. They behave exactly as we would want a new species to behave. Then why are we here? Demanded the Kaithara representative, her chittering voice sharp with confusion. Because their capacity for peace appears to be matched only by their capacity for war, Tylex replied. Our analysts have run every simulation we can devise. In every scenario where humans face an existential threat, they respond with a level of violence and determination that exceeds anything in our databases. They are simultaneously the most peaceful and most dangerous species we've ever encountered. Admiral Kreck stood, his towering form commanding attention. I've reviewed the same data. These humans show tactical thinking that surpasses our best military academies. Their technology advancement curve suggests that they'll achieve our level development within decades, not centuries. If they decide to expand aggressively, no single species could stop them. The crystalline delegate vibrated with calculation. What do you propose, Ambassador Thylex? Quarantine, Thylex said without hesitation. We install an energy barrier around their solar system, preventing any human vessel from leaving. We classify them as existential threat level alpha and ensure they never developed the capability to spread beyond their homeworld. The chamber erupted in debate. Some delegates argued for attempting peaceful integration, others for more extreme measures. The ethereal representative, speaking through psychic projection, raised concerns about the ethical implications of imprisoning an entire species for crimes they hadn't committed. But fear won. After 6 hours of heated discussion, the vote was called. 12 species voted in favor of quarantine, 2 abstained, and only the harmonious voted against. The decision was made with the cold calculation that had kept galactic peace for 3,000 years. Admiral Krex received his orders within the hour. He was to assemble a fleet of 300 vessels, proceed to the human solar system, and establish an impenetrable barrier around their space. Any human vessel attempting to leave would be disabled or destroyed. It was to be a clean, efficient operation that would end the human threat before it could begin. On Earth, President Sarah Chen stood in the Oval Office, reading the ultimatum. That had arrived via quantum transmission just hours after the Council's vote. The message was formal, diplomatic, and absolutely terrifying in its implications. Humanity had 72 hours to accept permanent isolation. 72 hours, she said aloud to the empty room. They're giving us 3 days to accept imprisonment for the rest of human existence. Dr. Marcus Webb entered through the secured entrance, his face pale but determined. As director of Earth's Xenobiology Institute, he had been part of the secret committee that had analyzed every piece of alien technology humanity had encountered. Madam President, he said, his voice steady despite the circumstances. There's something you need to know. Something we've kept classified at the highest levels for over 30 years. Sarah turned to face him, noting the strange mixture of fear and anticipation in his expression. What are you talking about, Marcus? We knew this was coming, Webb said, simply. Not the specifics, but we knew that first contact would likely result in fear rather than friendship. We've been preparing for this possibility since we first detected alien surveillance probes in 1993. Sarah felt her world shift. 30 years? We've known about aliens for 30 years. We've known about them much longer than they've known about us, Webb corrected. Madam President, what I'm about to show you will change your understanding of humanity's place in the universe. The Council thinks they're quarantining a primitive species that just learned to build spaceships. They have no idea what we've actually been doing out here. He activated a holographic display that showed a three-dimensional map of local space. Sarah expected to see Earth, possibly some nearby systems that humanity had begun to explore. Instead, she saw dozens of systems marked with human symbols, connected by a network of hidden routes and communication relays. This is impossible, she whispered. We've been using stealth technology to explore and colonize beyond our solar system for over 20 years, Webb explained. The ships they've seen are our public exploration vessels, designed to look like everything they expect from a young spacefaring race. Our real fleet, our real colonies, our real technology, none of it appears in their surveillance reports because they don't know to look for it. Sarah stared at the display, understanding the implications with growing amazement. How many colonies? 47 established settlements across 32 systems, Webb said. Over 2 million humans living beyond Earth's solar system. Completely unknown to the Galactic Council. We've been studying their technology, their psychology, their military capabilities for decades. We know them far better than they know us. My God, Sarah breathed. They're not quarantining us. They're walking into a trap, Webb nodded grimly. Admiral Crex's fleet will arrive expecting to intimidate a single world of primitive humans. Instead, they're going to discover that humanity has already spread across the galaxy, and that everything they think they know about us has been carefully crafted theater. Sarah looked at the display again, seeing humanity's true reach for the first time. The Council's fear of what humans might become was already reality. They weren't trying to prevent humanity's expansion into the galaxy. They were trying to stop something that had been happening right under their noses for decades. The Council voted to quarantine us because they're afraid of what we might do, she said slowly. They have no idea that we've already done it. Webb's expression was grim but satisfied. Madam President, in 72 hours, the galaxy is going to learn why it's dangerous to judge humanity by what they think they see. The Council believes they're dealing with wolves who haven't learned to hunt yet. They're about to discover that the wolves have been watching them all along, and we've already learned everything we need to know. As the ultimatum's deadline ticked away, neither the Council nor Admiral Crex's approaching fleet realized that humanity's response had been prepared for 3 decades. The trap was already set and the prey was flying directly into it, confident in their overwhelming superiority over a species they had never truly understood. Asterisk, when predators wake, Admiral Crex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching as 300 Council warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. The human sun blazed in the distance, a young star that had harbored what the Council now considered the most dangerous species in galactic history. In a few hours, this threat would be permanently contained. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, our sensors show minimal human activity. 3 small vessels orbiting their homeworld. A few automated probes near their outer planets. No sign of any significant military presence. Crex nodded, his reptilian features showing satisfaction. The humans had clearly recognized the futility of resistance. Perhaps this would be easier than expected. Open a channel to Earth. Let's give them one final opportunity to surrender peacefully. The communication screen flickered to life, showing a human female with gray-streaked hair and tired eyes. President Sarah Chen, according to their intelligence files. She looked exactly like what Crex expected from a leader facing impossible odds, defeated before the battle even began. I am Admiral Crex of the Galactic Council Navy, he announced. You have had 72 hours to consider our ultimatum. What is your response? Sarah Chun was quiet for a long moment, and Crex thought he saw something flicker in her expression. When she spoke, her voice was calm and steady. Admiral, we appreciate the Council's concerns about humanity's potential. However, we must respectfully decline your offer of permanent quarantine. Krex's eyes narrowed. You cannot seriously intend to resist. You face 300 warships with technology centuries beyond your own. This is not courage, President Chun. This is suicide. Perhaps, Sarah replied. But humanity has always been willing to fight for our freedom, no matter the odds. We won't accept imprisonment for crimes we haven't committed. The transmission ended, and Krex felt a mixture of disappointment and professional respect. The humans were going to make this difficult, but their courage was admirable even if it was pointless. All ships prepare for combat operations. Target their military vessels and planetary defense systems. Minimum necessary force to achieve compliance. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. To come, Captain Elena Rodriguez had been waiting in the shadow of Pluto for 18 hours. Her ship's advanced stealth systems rendering it invisible to the Council fleet sensors. The Shadowhawk was one of 47 human vessels hidden throughout the solar system, each one representing technology that the galaxy had never seen. Captain, her sensor operator whispered, Council fleet is beginning their advance toward Earth. All ships are proceeding according to our predictions. Elena smiled grimly. The Council ships were moving in a textbook formation that human strategists had anticipated decades ago. Every tactical decision Krex made had been wargamed by Earth's hidden military academies, and contingency plans existed for every possible scenario. Signal all ships, Elena commanded. Operation Revelation is a go. Let's show our guests what humanity has really been up to. Across the solar system, space itself seemed to ripple as 47 human warships decloaked simultaneously. They appeared from asteroid fields, from the shadows of moons, from empty space where nothing should have existed. Each ship was sleek, deadly, and built with technology that combined the best of human engineering with innovations derived from decades of studying captured alien probes. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, alarms began screaming as Admiral. Krex's sensor operators tried to process what they were seeing. Admiral, his tactical officer shouted. New contacts. 47 human vessels, all showing advanced stealth signatures. They're surrounding us? Krex stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The human ships had appeared in perfect positions to cut off retreat routes and create overlapping fields of fire. This wasn't luck or desperation. This was a meticulously planned ambush executed with precision that rivaled the best military minds in the galaxy. How is this possible? He demanded. Our intelligence showed no significant human fleet. His answer came in the form of a new transmission. Captain Elena Rodriguez appeared on his screen, wearing a uniform that Krex didn't recognize, but which clearly marked her as military command rank. Asterisk. Admiral Krex, Elena said with a slight smile. Welcome to Sol System. I'm Captain Rodriguez, commanding officer of the Terran Defense Force. I believe you're here to discuss terms for humanity's quarantine. Terran Defense Force? Krex repeated. Our intelligence shows no such organization exists. Your intelligence is based on what you've been allowed to see, Elena replied. For 37 years, humanity has been very careful to present exactly the image we wanted the galaxy to have of us. Young, primitive, unthreatening. It seems we did our job a little too well. Admiral Krex was beginning to understand the scope of the deception, and it terrified him. You've been deliberately hiding your true capabilities. We've been surviving, Elena corrected. We detected Council's surveillance probes decades ago and realized that first contact would likely result in exactly this scenario. Fear leading to aggression? So we prepared. The tactical display showed the Council fleet completely surrounded by human ships that had appeared from nowhere. But what disturbed Krex most was the coordination. The human vessels moved like a single organism, supporting each other with precision that suggested communication and planning capabilities far beyond what should be possible. Admiral, Elena continued, I want to make something clear. Your fleet is currently at our mercy. Our weapons are locked onto every council ship. Our tactical systems have identified the weak points in your shielding and our electronic warfare. Suites are prepared to disable your vessels without causing casualties. However, we're going to demonstrate something that your council seems to have difficulty understanding. And what's that? Krex asked, though he suspected he already knew. Restraint, Elena said simply. Mercy, the choice to spare lives when we have the power to take them. What followed was a masterclass in psychological warfare. The human ships began targeting council vessels with precision weapons that disabled engines, communications and weapons systems without causing hull breaches or casualties. Ship after ship in Krex's fleet found itself powerless, drifting in space, but with life support intact and crews unharmed. The council forces tried to fight back, but their weapons seemed to have no effect on the human ships. Advanced shielding technology, decades ahead of anything in the council's arsenal, absorbed energy weapons that should have been devastating. When the council ships attempted to coordinate their attacks, they discovered that human electronic warfare capabilities had already infiltrated their communication networks. Within 2 hours, the entire council fleet was disabled and helpless. Admiral Krex sat in his command chair, staring at displays that showed his 300 warships rendered. Completely powerless by fewer than 50 human vessels. It was the most comprehensive military defeat in recorded galactic history, achieved without a single fatality on either side. Captain Rodriguez, he said when the human officer reappeared on his screen, I need to understand. If you have this level of military capability, why reveal it now? You could have remained hidden, expanded in secret. Why show your hand? Elena's expression grew serious. Because fear is a poison, Admiral. The Council's decision to quarantine humanity wasn't based on what we'd done, but on what you were afraid we might do. That fear would have led to escalation, more violence, eventual war. By showing you our true capabilities now, we're hoping to shortcut that cycle. I don't understand. We're demonstrating that we already are what you were afraid we might become, Elena explained. A species with the power to threaten galactic stability. But we're also showing you that we choose not to use that power for conquest or destruction. We could have destroyed your fleet. We chose to disable it. We could have hidden our capabilities and struck from the shadows. We chose to reveal ourselves when you gave us no other option. At that moment, a new transmission reached both fleets. Ambassador David Park, humanity's first official representative to the Galactic Council, appeared on screens throughout the solar system. He was speaking from the council chambers on Nexus Station, where an emergency session had been called to address the situation at Earth. Honored members of the Galactic Council, David began. I stand before you as proof that humanity has already achieved what you sought to prevent. We have spread beyond our solar system. We have colonies, fleets, and capabilities that your surveillance never detected. The quarantine you attempted to impose was already meaningless. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Ambassador Thylex's silver skin had gone pale, while Admiral Krex's superiors demanded explanations for the military disaster at Earth. However, David continued, his voice cutting through the noise. Humanity did not come here to gloat or to threaten. We came to offer something different. Partnership. Alliance. A chance to prove that your fears, while understandable, were ultimately unfounded. He activated a holographic display showing the galaxy with human settlements marked in blue. The scope of human expansion shocked even those who had voted for quarantine. We have 47 colonies across 32 systems, David announced. Over 2 million humans living and working throughout Council space. In all this time, we have not attacked a single alien settlement, have not enslaved any species, have not claimed territory by force. We have traded fairly, learned eagerly, and contributed to the prosperity of every system we've entered. The harmonious delegate, speaker of many voices, rippled with newfound understanding. You're not the conquerors we feared. You single quotes explorers. scientists, traders. We're human, David replied simply. We are capable of great violence when threatened, yes. But we are also capable of great compassion, great creativity, great cooperation. The choice of which aspect of humanity you encounter has always been yours to make. In the Sol system, Admiral Krex was coming to terms with the complete reversal of everything you thought you knew. Captain Rodriguez, what happens now? My fleet is disabled, my mission has failed, and I've learned that everything the Council believed about humanity was wrong. Elena smiled, and for the first time, it reached her eyes. Now, Admiral, we help you repair your ships. We'll share some of our medical technology to treat your wounded. We'll provide supplies for your journey home. And when you report back to the Council, you'll tell them that humanity is exactly as dangerous as they feared, and exactly as peaceful as they hoped. I don't understand the distinction. The distinction, Admiral, is choice. We choose to use our strength to protect rather than conquer, to lift up rather than tear down. The Council was right to fear what humanity might become. They just never considered that what we might become was their friends. Over the following days, human ships worked alongside Council vessels to effect repairs and provide assistance. The two fleets that had come to this system as enemies began to work together with an efficiency that surprised everyone involved. Dr. Marcus Webb, aboard one of the human medical ships, found himself treating injured Council personnel with techniques that amaze their own doctors. Your medical technology, observed a crystalline healer. It's decades ahead of our own. How long have you been developing these capabilities? About as long as we've known you existed, Marcus replied honestly. We've been preparing for first contact for over 30 years. We wanted to be ready to contribute something valuable to galactic civilization, not just take from it. A year later, Ambassador David Park stood once again in the Council chambers, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. The emergency session had become a celebration as humanity was formally inducted as the newest member of the Galactic Council. The humans have proven, announced the eldest council member, that our fears were both justified and completely wrong. They are indeed the most dangerous species we have encountered. They are dangerous to complacency, to stagnation, to the assumption that the way things have always been done is the only way they can be done. Ambassador Thylex, who had originally called for humanity's quarantine, now stood as one of their strongest advocates. In attempting to contain the human threat, we learned that the real threat was our own fear of change. Humanity has brought innovation, compassion, and a perspective we desperately needed. Elena Rodriguez, now Admiral of the Combined Human Council Defense Fleet, often reflected on the irony of how everything had unfolded. The Council's attempt to prevent humanity from becoming a galactic power had forced humanity to reveal that they already were one. The fear of human aggression had led to humanity demonstrating their commitment to peace. Most importantly, the galaxy had learned that sometimes the greatest threat comes not from enemies, but from the fear of what friends might become if you don't give them the chance to prove who they really are. In the end, the Council's judgment had taken place in fear, and they had acted to prevent a future that their very actions had made inevitable. But they had also learned that sometimes when you're afraid of monsters, the best thing you can do is give them the chance to prove they're really heroes in disguise. The galaxy was a richer, safer, and more interesting place because the Council had been brave enough to admit they were wrong, and humanity had been wise enough to prove that being powerful doesn't mean you have to be destructive. Sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones who choose to protect instead of hunt. Asterisk.